Welcome everybody to the sixth episode because we don't ever do intros. I've decided we're going to do one specifically for this episode.
Yeah, I mean, legitimately speaking, every time we start, it's kind of just like, so, or insert the name of the topic here or the word here.
Yeah, well, I do like that being a part of our format. This may be a rare video where we do this one time and then decide never to do it again. But today we're
I,
gonna we're
I,
gonna
I'd like to point out the irony, too, of you saying episode 6 while having, like, something like Cult of the Lamb on in the background. Like, that's just such beautiful theming right there.
I mean, uh, if I happen to say that number again during this episode, then we will have three of them, which will be very on brand. So I'll make sure not to say that number again until needed.
Got you, bro. So go ahead. What do you have for us today?
Okay, so this topic came from something I saw in a Hero Hey video that I don't normally watch his content. In fact, I don't really like that sort of content in general from a lot of people. But
Right.
um, this came up in the algorithm because YouTube's great like that, and
Indeed.
I didn't care about the topic entirely, except I have bad thoughts. I have opinions on the topic that I think are worth discussing. I'm going to look like an absolute clown for saying this, but at the same time, we're gonna do it like this. I'm going to give you the context.
Okay.
You're definitely going to disagree with the point that is being made, and I'm
Okay.
going to explain why I think it's a good idea. Um,
All right. I can feel my spine tingling.
so a developer or a developer from Ubisoft who works on the Assassin's Creed games recently came out in like an article or something saying that gamers need to get used to not owning their games.
Oh, okay. I heard something about this vaguely at one point. I didn't touch any further on it, nor did I like even really think about it. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I heard the statement.
So the main idea is at the moment they're going through their new like subscription base processes, and I guess they decided, hey, now's a good time to talk about the fact that gamers shouldn't own their games. Uh, yeah. So just before we get into anything, what are your first thoughts on that?
There's actually a few different things rolling around in my head. The first thing that I'm gonna say is this is partially a joke, but it's also very accurate. Gamers not owning their games, getting used to it. Please, MOBA players have been doing that for years. I mean, like, you don't own those skins, you rent those skins. You don't own anything about a MOBA. You just fucking rent the experience when you play that for years until eventually the servers fucking die, and then you realize, oh, I have nothing left to show for this now. This game is gone, but they made all that money.
Yeah.
Well, fuck me. I can't even replay this game, can I? So that's number one.
All right.
Like that. Number two, as far as not owning your games with the subscription in mind, it's problematic as far as monetary goes. Like, it's not cost effective for gamers because we po. I mean, like
Yeah, yeah.
most gamers don't have money, so like like the hobbies people, these are normal people engaging in this type of hobby. So
Yeah.
that's another problem.
Yeah, you can't
Economic issues.
you don't
Um,
exactly buy a family account for you you know for games just for everyone in the family to play. You do it. You're more looking for games that you're sort of wanting to play yourself, right? So it's a very different story to something like Netflix.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to compare it to as well.
Yeah.
Because people are okay doing that, right? But mostly because there is such a endless plethora of movies and TV shows and animes at their disposal when they pay for that subscription service. So you're not paying for one. Now the real question is then, is this a game that you're paying a subscription for, a singular game like the comparison I made to a MOBA, or are game developer companies actually saying, okay, all the games we make, all the games that we own as properties, now you pay, I don't know, $5 or $10 a month and you get access to all of them. If it's something like that, it might be up for argument.
Okay, so the problem is we kind of agree, and I was hoping you would be more honestly adjacent, and you are not.
There are more points though that I can add to it. Like, so we'll see I want to see where you go with
Okay,
this more,
okay, well,
because there is a lot more that can be brought up here.
No. The problem is, I'm sort of thinking in the same direction because, like, let's cover a few of the negatives about this.
Right.
Like you said, gamers are poor, or if they are, you know, making money, they shouldn't be spending all of their money on games. And you know, these are just kind of business practices that if they become normalized, we will no longer be able to actually, like, a good example. You play Smash. You don't want to be paying like a little bit every month just to play Smash.
Yeah, there's actually a pro and con right here since you brought this up. And again, I'm probably going to be deferring back to the MOBA argument I made a lot now, because this is interesting, right? On one hand, you buy DLC for like a fighting game like Smash, and you get all the characters in that pack. Now, you take a MOBA like League or Smite, you can do a similar thing, but you can argue that, well, while I don't own this game, by say like on Smite, I could buy the God pack for $30.
Right.
Get all present and future God releases for just that price. I don't have to pay anymore when a new God comes out. I locked it in. I'm good, right? Now, if a fighting game like Smash did something similar, where they were always releasing new fighters and new stages and cared about the balance and the competitive, right? I might be willing to either pay one incredibly large lump sum for that knowledge, or maybe a small subscription, but it depends how much they're charging me each month, and it also depends on how often they're releasing characters. Like if they're releasing a new character every month and they're keeping the game balanced and updated, I don't know, maybe $5-10 a month I might be willing to do, but I wouldn't be willing to do that for every game. Like a Smash would be something very specific.
I don't know if I could do subscription-based gaming, just based on that. I think the benefit of a lot of these games, like Smash, is the fact that they are free. I definitely don't think I could do a subscription-based game like that. Not a lobby game. Not a. If I'm just getting the base game, or even if I'm just getting access to everything that's in the game, that's not, I think, enough for me to be able to do that. Because, yeah, I mean, I don't think that there are better options, because I don't like battle passes and stuff. But I genuinely don't think I would want to pay for a subscription base on something like that either. But
I think it varies in this case.
But here's the thing. Here's the one point that pretty much blows all of my negative points out of the water, because I would do this in a heartbeat, and it's the dream opportunity that I believe won't happen, because sorry, actually, let's start with the third negative, because the third negative I need to get to before I go into this. The third negative is if we're talking about developers or like publishers doing this, there's a lot of publishers that I would never ever own a subscription for. Ubisoft, for instance,
Right.
doesn't release any games that I care about. Um,
They're also buggy.
well, yeah, that's the other problem is that they're not exactly the most trustworthy as a publisher.
Yeah.
I don't think that it works for a lot of other ones that exist out there either that have platforms like this. I don't think like the closest one is Epic, and I don't even like using the Epic Games Launcher because I think it's just another one that I just don't want to have to interact
Nobody
with.
uses Epic. People get free games on it and then don't use them.
Well, people that play Fortnite use it, and yeah, like
Fair.
I
Fair.
don't, obviously, yeah. Um, and then like if you use the Unreal Engine, like a lot of it's in Epic Games now. That was like the one thing I did use it for. But if Steam had a subscription where I could access every game and all I have to do is pay a monthly fee of like $10, $15 anytime I want to try a new game, just pay $15 for that month and I can try any of their games that look interesting, or even a premium on newer games. So like if I have to pay $30 that month if I want to get access to new games, I would pretty much be sold on that. It is scary how fast I'd be sold on that because
I definitely have a pro and con to this. Pro, I agree because that probably would save a lot more money in the long haul, you could argue.
yeah.
But if you're someone like me,
Yeah.
who's not a big gamer, but still plays games, and you have a month or two where you don't play anything, you basically own nothing and you're just giving up money for nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, I mean, it's obviously it's very tempting with a library like Steam because
Okay.
it's massive.
So here's why it won't happen, right? The
Yeah.
reason why it won't happen is because Ubisoft, the reason why they can do it is because they technically own all of those games and they can just make money off the subscriptions rather than have to worry about it. Whereas Steam, if every game went to Steam, like I think God of War is on Steam now, right? I don't think any of the developers would get any money from people owning a Steam subscription. And if
Steam would have to turn into Netflix. It would have to be licensing and contracts, and probably would be limited periods of time for certain games to be on like the Steam and the Valve store and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it would probably games would probably come and go.
Yeah, we would see a lot less games on Steam. Like we already have a huge library, and like we do lose a few games, but man, we would see a lot of those get cut real quick. If they started having to do licenses, because there's no way they'd be able to afford every license.
To be honest, I think a lot more people would end up sailing the high seas for sure. Because I think most people would have initial outrage, then eventually some people would capitulate and fall in line, and then I think you'd have some people who would just like probably stop.
Well, if you're still able to buy the game, because obviously what the base of what has been said by this Ubisoft developer who has gone unnamed. I tried looking. I can't actually find the name of the person who said all of this, but they what they said is obviously like trying to insinuate that we don't own any games anymore, which it's not going to happen. Or if they don't insinuate that, then it's just being flagrantly outrageous just for the fact that they can say that. But I think that ultimately the best thing we're gonna get out of this is that they if we tried not doing this type of thing where we can go for subscriptions, we have to still be able to purchase the game. That's what you can do on
you know what
where else.
you know what you're talking about, right? It's like old school rental video stores.
Yeah.
You can
And
rent
that's the
it.
comparison they use as well.
Because like you can rent it, and then after a while, if you want, buy it.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously there's still people that
That's
are like
not bad.
physical purists as well who need the physical media.
Now this is something I have criticisms on.
What, owning the physical media? You don't like owning all of the physical media?
Not particularly. Okay, like you know I'm a minimalist.
Right.
Like the less shit, the less physical objects I have around me, the better. Like I'm not someone who cares, but it's not that I don't care about owning material things. Like obviously, you know, that's not what I'm saying either, but I'm always thinking like, and maybe this is a personal irrational fear coupled with it too, but like I always look at it like if I need to move at any point or any reason, finances, what have you, the less shit I have to physically pack up, the easier it is. And I have taken a strong liking to as much digital media as possible because it saves on space.
Right.
And I'll be real, yes, I collect manga, but I don't collect manga for the reason like, oh, I need physical media. I collect it primarily because I have corneal scarring, and when I spend too much time staring at a screen, which I do constantly, it irritates my eyes. So if I spend some time reading a book and staring at that, my eyes will hurt less. So that's more of like a personal health reason. But like otherwise, there are plenty of things I read online too, because like hell, there are some mangas or manhwa you just can't find in English print. It just won't happen. So like if I want to read them, I got to read them on the computer anyway. And worst case scenario, if I ever had to sell my manga for financial reasons or didn't have the space, I can still get access to all that no problem as long as I have internet connection. And today people always have that somehow, some way. That's kind of turned into a necessity today. And then the next thing, this is something I will admit, while I do, this is one thing I admit I like physical media for. At the same time, though, I can part with it at a moment's notice. I like buying albums, CDs for bands that I enjoy. And I do this because when you listen to the music online, you don't get the lyric booklet. The lyric booklet has all the artwork in it, it has the nice fonts that they use, and the lyrics are more accurate in the booklet. I can't tell you how many times I've looked up lyrics on a lyric website to read what a song was saying sometimes, to analyze it and think about it. And I ended up finding they got the lyrics wrong. That doesn't happen from the actual booklet because it was made by the fucking label that, you know, printed it and recorded with them in the first place. So it's going to be the accurate translation, transliteration, actually. Transcription, that's the word. That's the word.
Yeah.
So like, my point is that even though that's one piece of physical media I do like to own, I can part with it at a moment's notice. I think too many people spend way too much money on physical crap. And then they don't think about like, oh, I need to move. Oh, I need to dust all this stuff and keep it clean. It's going to cause a lot of clutter. There's so many negatives I can give to like physical merchandise that I think most people who buy it, like nerds like us, excuse me, don't even think about. They're just thinking, "Oh, that's cool. I want it." Think ahead.
I think the other thing is when it comes to this specific medium, a lot of what's on the disc doesn't save you any hard drive space anymore.
Right.
Games are just too big now, unless we're talking very like sort of retro indie games. Are just too big that like ultimately what you're installing isn't the majority of the game because of patches. A lot of patches nowadays are like 50 gigs, 25 gigs, 30 gigs, 40 gigs, 100 gigs. I think I think it's literally 100 GB if you want to update GTA 5 from like your disc. It could be more. It could be more. I haven't checked recently, but I
Yeah,
believe
that's
it's
fucking
about
nuts. I
that.
mean, hell, look at some games on Steam that are like, God, like I don't know, 100 gigs
Yeah.
of data, and yeah, like I mean, a lot of us, even if we have large spaces on our PCs, we'll uninstall a game that we're not playing for a while and then reinstall it later if we want to play it
Yes.
because, yeah, space. Or some of us you put it on external hard drives because you know, like we need that mainstay space for other more important files on our PC. So
And regardless, like you can still do this with digital or physical either way. So like if you uninstall a game because you're running out of space, regardless, you're still like there's still yeah that aspect of it. But
yeah, but you can't
the
uninstall a physical disk you bought.
well you
That's
can
taking up
you
space
still
in your house.
I mean right in that way yes. But the other thing is like I guess the other part of this is that it's supposed to like help with the speed of running things, but that doesn't even do anything anymore because running things from an actual physical disk is also slower than ever. Like yeah, I there's just no benefit to owning a game on a physical disc anymore unless it's something like
Agreed.
really old. Because obviously you don't want to be repurchasing old games. That's like the only place where I give owning games like the exception is like really, really old games that having the disc is better than installing like the version that you have to get online. That's like the only time I will give it any
Are you talking
credence.
about emulation?
No, I'm talking about ports to Steam that are like for example Morrowind, right? Morrowind was a game that was for the PC that
Skyrim, right?
well yeah, Skyrim is one, but like Skyrim came in sort of the modern era.
Right.
Morrowind is a game that like you can boot from a disc and it'll play and like everything. I suppose the same works for Skyrim, but the the I mean for Skyrim, right? Arguably you're probably gonna install a bunch of mods for it unless you're just playing the physical game, but like I don't think that Skyrim has that much replayability. Neither does
I mean,
Morrowind.
I mean, obviously it depends on the person. Like you said, mods will certainly enhance the experience of how much enjoyment a person gets out of a game. I mean, look at Minecraft, right?
Mm.
It's mod the game at this point.
Yeah,
You
and the
know,
and the fact of the matter is, if you're gonna install mods and you're gonna do all of this crap, you're not saving on space.
yeah,
And you're gonna have to
actually,
put in the other annoying thing about CDs is most games you have to have the CD in the CD drive, and finding the disc when you're trying to look for the game. Like a lot of people do the collection things, but sometimes when you just can't find your game because you've left it somewhere, and you got to find it, and you can't find the disc. That's another thing to consider because you can easily lose that physical piece of media, and that might be the one thing stopping you, and then you have to go and get it again. Again, collectors are probably better about putting away their games and stuff. Um,
yeah. I mean, I'll be real. I was always very careful with my shit, and when I was younger, I collected plenty of things. I have a couple of things, I'll admit, that are still collections based on nostalgic reasons, sentimental value, and I think that's the case with a lot of collectors too who like physical media. I think it's purely a nostalgic thing because there's probably something from their past that makes them feel good to still own it and they miss it. So that's why they still collect the physical media. I can say I've grown out of that a little bit. I have some of that sentimentality left for certain things, but I would say like for collectibles, not so much anymore. Like if I'm talking like sentimental value, I'm thinking more like say, oh, okay, maybe this is something that one of my family members gave me, and I have
Well,
sentimental value to that object. But like as far as collectibles go, it's kind of meh to me at this point. It feels kind of pointless.
there are also games that haven't been ported yet, or like put on Steam, that exist. So owning the physical game is like, yeah, perfect for that.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
but
you
why
could
not
just
just
you
emulate
could
it?
obviously emulate it or pirate it, but
Yeah, yeah. Like
but
I don't see why bother when you can do that.
because it's illegal, it's illegal, and we do not advocate for doing such
Actually,
dirty, naughty
actually,
things as.
actually, there is an argument against that though. Uh, if you purchased a copy at some point of that physical media, then it is perfectly legal to download that and emulate it. So if you had already paid for it, you can still do that legally.
Yeah, let me go get my my receipt from 1998 when my dad bought my first copy of Morrowind. Yeah, I'm sure that's gonna work real smoothly.
No, no, don't worry. It's perfectly fine. It's not, don't worry about it. You see,
I just
you
printed
paid for
Comic
that copy.
Sans.
Yeah. No, dude, shut the fuck up. But no, like legitimately either way, like even if we're not talking about,
I do know that it's so we should be clear about this. The aspect of emulation that is not legal is downloading illegal copies of the game in which someone else has
Mhm.
not purchased it. Even
Yeah,
if
obviously.
even if you've owned it, you can't actually just say that you downloaded this copy of Giga Share, and you owned the game, so it's perfectly legal. The aspect of it is the file sharing part, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
completely ignored by today's standards, mostly because there's nothing you can do to stop it. It's the same as what
Music is the
happened
same,
with.
movies are the
Yep,
same. There's plenty of things
yep.
that people do, obviously.
And it
But
wasn't even
like,
our generation. Oh, yeah, no, I don't believe it's our generation that is. Well, no, I think it's your generation. I think it's your generation that is the start of the
millennials are
problem
definitely are the progenitor, I feel, of
of
having,
stealing music. I think so. I
yeah,
think you're right.
absolutely. Because I think back to the early days of like fucking Napster
Yeah,
and shit like that. Like, yeah, like we definitely started that whole trend and downloading movies and downloading animes. Like, that is where it came from, and obviously it never left. But
I remember. It's funny because I remember my dad used to be up to date with all of it as well, and that's how I got to enjoy a lot of my games as a kid.
Well, you know what it is? There's always going to be people who like defy what their generational standard was
Well,
because
yeah.
they care enough to pay attention to what's going on in the new generation and what's changed and progress and stuff like and that's great. Like I think that's always great just as a sidebar of generational awareness. Like
Yeah.
that's something I wish more people did. Just as a quick point. But no, when it comes to like fucking like the physical media and shit, I'm just like again, and people who like to own physical media, and we have a friend who loves his physical
Yeah,
media.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I hate it in most cases because like of the reasons I said
Of the
before.
reasons you said before. Yeah.
Yeah, I just look at it like why bother, So like as far as the whole like, not owning your games, I think it really is only going to bother people on a high level if they are people like this, like you've been talking about, people who really
I
care about physical media.
I have something that's sort of on this topic and related.
Mm.
I like owning the collector's edition things that have to do with Sonic games, right? I got the one. I didn't buy it. I got it from like the Sonic Generations collector's edition from my cousin because they won it in
Hmm.
a contest, and I was a huge Sonic fan, so I basically they basically just gave it to me. Um,
It's funny, right? This makes a good point of what I was saying before. Nostalgia reason.
well, yeah, yeah, but the the funny thing is that came with the physical disc, right?
Mm.
I knew as soon as Sonic Mania came out that it was going to have a similar thing. Sonic Frontiers, as far as I know, didn't. I tried looking my heart out for one for Frontiers, and I didn't find anything that was like worth interest. But the Sonic Mania is really cool. I don't know. I'm sure I've shown it before, but I can show it again later. But the funny thing about it is that the package itself contains a statue of Sonic. It comes with like this this weird like card. It's like a metal fridge card thing. I don't know what else to describe. It has a golden ring, which the Generations box also has. I gave the other one to my mate that I mentioned in episode 4, and it comes with a digital game download code so that I could
Oh my
download the game,
god.
not the actual physical disc. And do you know
Mm.
what? I am absolutely fine with that because I don't
Mm.
have to put in a cartridge to play it. I can play it whenever I like.
Mm.
But it
So
caused a big fuss. There were many people not happy about the fact that it didn't come with the actual game. And a number of people have already done it. They've all done the same thing where it's like, oh, we've got a collector's box. Hey, guess what? Here's a code to download it online.
oh my god. I'll be real. I don't understand why people would be bothered by that because if they got the physical media anyway and it comes with that, like you literally have both then. Like I mean, I remember when DVDs and Blu-rays first started doing that, and
Yeah,
honestly,
but a lot of physical copy people are doomers, and or they have this
I
mindset of
agree.
when the internet goes out and Armageddon is gone, I will power up my computer with my perfect generator that I keep in the back of my
Yeah,
garage underneath
yup.
a basement under 7 floors of concrete, and then I will plug it into my computer and I will boot up all of the games that I own, and then
Yeah.
we'll see who lost out.
Yeah. No, I agree with you completely. I honestly do. Like, and that's again, it's why I don't want to go back around in a circle, but it's a big reason why I'm just like rolling my eyes, like, who cares, like
Yeah,
about the
yeah.
physical media? Like, I'm just like I'll be real, right? Like when it comes to physical shit, I care about things being physical that actually need to be
Right,
physical. You
right.
know, like food and clothing and shelter. Like the objects that are in our leisure or our like again, it all comes down to sentimental nostalgic value. And I agree with you on the whole doomer thing that a lot of them do want to act like the point like, oh well, I can still do this if this happens or whatever. But it's like, well, I mean, odds are is if that happens, you're not playing games. You're fighting off a zombie
No,
apocalypse.
no, no, forget the zombie apocalypse, right? You're probably dead. I'm sorry, but the chances of you surviving in this very specific aspect of life is probably close to zero. You're betting on like a 0.1% chance, lower than that. You're betting on the 0.00 to the power of infinity 9 that you will survive an apocalypse and be able to play a game and not do anything else like fighting off zombies or doing something because you'll be safe in your basement with your hot Cheetos that you bought like 7 years of because you've decided that's how long you're going to be able to survive, and pure gamer energy. And while we're at it, we'll all just rebuild the internet. It's not happening. I'm sorry. It's not happening. I hate to put it bluntly, but owning physical copies for that purpose has no meaning. If it makes you feel special, cool. It's the same people. It's the same argument with people that like, I don't know, have like any type of collection. Like it's the nostalgic value, right?
Yeah,
If
you
that's
know what
it,
it,
cool.
I'll tell you what it really is. It's peanuts. It's Linus with his
Yeah, yeah,
security blanket.
yeah.
That's all it is. Like that, like that's truly what it is. It doesn't serve any functional purpose. It's purely just for your own nostalgic joy. And at the end of the day, like I said, there's just way more cons to physical media than there are pros.
The
I
the
just
fine
have to
line
agree with that.
the fine line between a collector and a hoarder. Uh, corporate wants you to find the difference between these two photos. They're the
Yes.
same image.
Nah, I agree completely. Honestly, like that's yeah, I mean, like I said, there's definitely a few cons I have to the subscription based points, but overall, like I mean, like I said, I keep going back to the MOBA. Like, we haven't fucking owned any MOBA we've ever played, and people have been talking about that point for years. Um, People are fully accepted things like Netflix and shit.
You know what stands out to me among all of this, and it's very
Mm,
popular, and I don't like the fact that it's popular because it's the last of its kind. Um,
mm,
there are two actually. The one I was thinking of was Final Fantasy 14 because it's a game that you don't own, but you
yup.
have to pay for, and it's the same thing with sort of World of Warcraft. These two,
Expansion after expansion.
yeah, and like if a sum of your game was free, which I think like a very small portion of World of Warcraft is free. If either of these games were free, then it would be fine. But the problem is they have built they existed in the Stone Age and they get to exist now doing what they do because they lived in the Stone Age and because no one has given up on their games and not enough people have who play their games have died out and forgotten their legacy.
Yeah, I mean, bottom line, like the pioneers are always the ones who end up staying around the longest. And then on top of it too, like, when it comes to just like approval rating, people will be bothered by the potential thought of not owning their games at first.
Yeah.
It kind of goes under like, things we've talked about before with outrage media and outrage responses. They'll be upset at first because like, oh no, I'm old and I don't like change. But the problem is that eventually, when you start seeing more games that you like, you start maybe having a few more options, and you realize it ultimately becomes more cost effective because you're not putting out like $60 for a box game every like few months, because that's what happens when you own consoles and shit too, or you own games on Steam. It's basically that thing. And yeah, PC games are a bit cheaper than console games, but the principle still applies. You're still spending at least 20 to $60 on average for most games when you purchase them and when you own them. But if
And
you're paying that monthly thing, as soon as you get used to it, you will realize it's not that bad. You'll
well,
get
yeah,
comfortable.
and honestly, there are so many games that have come out recently. I still haven't bought Elden Ring. It is because it's still too expensive. The fact
Right.
is, it's not that expensive, right? It's not that expensive. Same with Baldur's Gate, right? Neither game is so expensive. The problem is that in order to be able to afford it, I have to sacrifice a lot of my either living or goals just to do it. And in my current point, I'm not blessed with a huge fan base. Please subscribe to our Patreon. So that we can, so that I can play Baldur's Gate 3. If there's any reason to become a patron right now, please do it because I need to play Baldur's Gate 3.
I'll agree with that. Subscribe so we have more free time.
Bro, if my uptick in patrons this year goes up by like 100, I will play Baldur's Gate 3. And I'll do it on stream. I promise. Look, just like I want to play that game. Every single person who comes into my DMs and asks, "Have you played Baldur's Gate 3 yet?" I haven't. I don't have. Every dollar goes into this or some other aspect of making sure that I can produce content. Please let me.
That's another factor, right? That's a big reason why I have spent so little time playing games. So that's another reason why it wouldn't bother me that much, right? If they
Yeah,
made these changes, because I'm not a big gamer. I don't have the time for this crap. I don't care enough if they really end up doing this to that degree, because I'm more focused on, like you said, I'm trying to make art. I'm trying to make commissions. I'm trying to make money. I'm trying to like get some level of financial independence. Like That's what I fucking give more of a shit about. I don't care if I fucking have Donkey Kong 64 and a fucking N64 game cartridge and shit in the console still in my goddamn house. You know why? Because it's a dust trap. It's gonna
Okay.
fucking explode and set on fire anyway. What
Okay.
does it matter?
Okay. This reminds me of something very specific that I now have to talk about
Oh
because
god, I
I
triggered something.
yeah. This is a weird exception I'm about to talk about, but
Mm.
if you've played the port for Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, what you will notice is that grinding controls are very hypersensitive and don't work as well as they're supposed to. Only the Dreamcast version of that game actually has the correct formula, like the correct mechanics for grinding.
You want to know the beautiful thing about this is for me?
What?
One, I played the game. We're talking about SA2, right?
Yes.
One, I played that on GameCube growing up.
Yes.
That's number one. Number two, I played that when I was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
That is about 20 years ago, roughly speaking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even fucking remember how smooth the controls were. I don't give a shit if it doesn't like if I boot up Steam right now and play SA2 on my PC and someone says, "Oh, what you think of the grinding controls?" I'm gonna be like, "What do you mean?" That's literally gonna be me. I don't give a
Yeah.
fucking shit. I don't remember at all how poor those controls were. I just don't. Like this is what I'm saying, right? Like these are the people who are sitting around caring about these minor little things. Like don't get me wrong. If it affects gameplay so bad that like it's impossible to move, right? Or like it's like really, really noticeable that like even someone like me that doesn't remember
This is
has a hard time playing it,
yeah,
then I get
yeah.
it. But if
The-
it's something like that, who gives a shit?
okay. So there is an element in here where it's another sort of like collective thing, where
Blah.
if you care a lot about like game design or like game programming, that's the kind of thing that especially if you like that series, that does kind of stand out as a monument. It's not a very easy monument. The it's not worth actually going back and getting. But there's another example, right? The remake for Halo 2 has um is made in the Master Chief Collection, is made um in like the current version of whatever engine they use to make Halo. I don't think it's the Infinity engine. I think it's the one that they had before that. I don't remember exactly, but there used to be a glitch that existed in Halo 2. There were plenty of glitches, but one of the most popular ones was super jumps, where you can basically save a jump into a crack or like a specific like edge, and if you do, what happens is your model goes outside the world for a moment. It takes your jump and like basically flings you either vertically or in any other direction, and you could use it to break a lot of the maps. There used to be huge compilations of different ways to do it on different maps. It was a relic of its time. They actually addressed it when they were making the Master Chief Collection, that it like Bungie, 343 actually made a statement that it's not going to be possible because of the way collision worked in the old engine, and the fact that it just won't do that in the new engine. So it wasn't going to be like the old Halo 2. And that's what happens when you remaster a game. But the fact of the matter is, if you own the game for Xbox, because Halo 2 only released in two really weird places, the classic version. It released for the Xbox, and it released for for Windows Vista. And you could still find the Windows Vista version, and it will run on anything.
No.
But it's made for Windows Vista, and it's very funny that
Oh.
it is.
Yeah, that how does that run in all seriousness? Like
It runs
how does
exactly like Halo. And like I've played the Windows Vista version, and like you can still do all the super jumps, all the glitches are still in it. Um, yeah, and honestly, like if there's a way that I prefer to play Halo 2, I prefer to play that version because
wow.
of the plethora of things that you could do. There used to be amazing things. There were things that you could only do on the Xbox version because it was the way it interacted with Xbox Live. There used to be a thing, right, where if you they had the alien tank, it's called the Wraith, and what you could do is you could have the host. It's either the host or the person who does this disconnect after throwing a plasma grenade at the turret, and as soon as they DC'd, the turret would just come off. Normally, it just explodes, but in this case, the turret just came off. You couldn't ride it. There was no. I think if you tried to ride it, you'd just be floating invisibly in an invisible turret.
Okay. You know what? I'll say this. There is something I can liken that I personally can agree with is a good comparison. Fighting games, competitive, PvP. Like take for instance, like if I use like say Melee, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
Melee is a fucking buggy game.
Yeah.
There is so much shit in Melee that was not intended, just like what you're saying with Halo here. There was so much stuff. Wave dashing was not supposed to be a thing. Dash
Yeah.
dancing, like a lot of core mechanics of the game now for competitive, were never meant to be there. And because they were accidentally put there when the way the game was coded, now it's become a mainstay thing. Now, I'll say this. In competitive settings, I probably care more about the issue you're talking about with like developer bugs and glitches and how a game is supposed to be coded, because then it's obviously going to affect your performance, and your performance is going to be incredibly frustrating if some guy is kicking your ass because you don't have the same options or it wasn't coded properly on that version. So that's something I think in that context I can agree with it. But if it's like a one player experience, like an RPG, a platform or whatever, a puzzle game, stuff like that, I don't care as much because I look at it like I see games like that primarily as just purely entertainment, whereas a competitive PvP type game isn't necessarily just for your entertainment. You might be an esports player, you might be someone who at the very least takes it seriously as a hobby and you stream it and stuff. But like when it comes to those one player games, it's like I still kind of like roll my eyes at like competitive speed runs because
Yeah.
it's like cool. It's like cool. You know what? If that's what you like to do, fine. But I think it's kind of pointless because you're essentially just trying to beat the clock, and they employ so many crazy ass glitches and options in those games to do it that it ends up feeling less authentic to me. Of like, are you really speed running the game, or are you just finding an old school way of hacking into the game via the holes that the developers left by accident? And to me, that doesn't feel like an actual like speed run. It doesn't feel like a race. I mean, when you fucking have a race with somebody in real time and you're running next to them, you're not trying to figure out how do I get jet boosters onto my sneakers so that I can fucking go faster than them. You train and you try to actually just run on that actual merit. And I don't feel like speed running
I
has
feel like
that same
that's.
level of competitive quality.
Oh man. I mean, like, look, I definitely don't agree that. Sorry, I definitely agree with the fact that that the two shouldn't be compared like that. I love speedrunning glitches because they're just something that involve a particular area of game design that I personally really like.
Hmm.
But yeah, like fair enough if you're not like for that type of thing. I guess if we're talking about in the context of owning physical media, no, I wouldn't go that far to own content just so that I could be better in that particular aspect. And like, fair enough to people that do.
I mean, at the end of the day, you can do whatever you want. These are just my criticisms.
It's actually funny. It's another little comparison, little nugget of information that's sort of relevant. In Spyro, did you know that the PAL version of the game actually has Spyro with higher jumps?
Oh wow, really?
Yep. I learnt about that in another video that is quite popular about another speedrunner that did speedrunning for Spyro, and they also did it for Super Mario Sunshine. They found one of the coolest speedrunning skips. One of the most popular ones that people were looking for in order to speedrun it. I forgot what the place is called because I didn't get to own Super Mario Sunshine. That's just the unfortunate part of how popular Nintendo game consoles were, and specifically my region. But
You know what this is a matter of too, right? Like in terms of liking a game, in terms of being invested in game design, right? Like obviously you are someone who very much is like, so you care about these finer details with how a game runs, how it processes, what are the glitches, what are the exploits. Like I can definitely understand, having those things matter because you're looking at it from not only a informed eye but a critical eye. So it's kind of like how when I was younger and I used to animate, right? I specifically was very similar with animation, and I would like stare intensely at things. I would observe stuff a lot. Like it very much mattered to me because it was something that I did and I very much identified with. And I think
yeah,
I think the same thing can be said here for the game design. So I can understand why you or people might care from that lens.
well, there's also another aspect of I enjoy those aspects because I am a cunt. I'm a big flaming cunt. I used to play Age of Empires with my family, right? And
Right.
in that game, you basically wall off your area, right? But something that can be just completely ignored about doing this kind of thing is there is a specific unit in the game which can just remove trees. It is basically a catapult. It is called the Onager, and it can just it flings a boulder. The trees collapse. You break through their tree line, and you can just ignore all of the defenses that they've put on one side of the building, enter where all of their peasants are, kill all their villagers, their economy's gone, and they lose the game. I used to get in so much trouble. All of my siblings hated me for doing this because it was an exploit that gave me just the best advantage of being able to win. It's
Yeah, but you see, I agree with this again, right? So in that case, I'm a cunt as well because that's why I said when it came to competitive, right? PvP. This is PvP. Like, so no, I agree with you because this was the point. Exactly why I brought up like
yeah.
melee before, or a fighting game, or just PvP in general. So no, yeah, again, I 100% agree with that because I would do the exact same bloody thing.
Well, and to that extent, it's like, it varies, right? Because I'm not someone that like will what's the word? I won't pick the most optimal meta build or like cheese build all the time. There are things that I like that are definitely cheesy in video games, but exploits definitely come under I feel like they do sort of have a shared branch in that. So when it comes to competitive, having that knowledge of exploits, it's just really really. In Smash, in this context, I think it's why I love characters like Kazuya that have mechanics that just are different to the rest of the cast.
Yes, I believe the professional term is called bullshit.
But I think that will do it for this episode. Thank you for talking with me about this. I did not think we would agree as much as we did. I was hoping we would get there, but I didn't. I thought honestly I was gonna get harder pushback about the subject, but no, I'm glad that you're also someone that doesn't care. Maybe we need to get someone else that that is big on physical hardware to come and argue this topic with us.
I mean, I could think of someone, honestly, if you really did want to do that.
We'll see. But
yeah, but nah, like legitimately speaking, this is why when you first had pitched the concept of me of something that you wanted to like really speak in favor for, and you thought that I would give you pushback, I was like, well, I obviously have no idea what you wanted to talk to me about, so all I was thinking was, well, what if I do agree with them? Like, what if and yeah, like I'd say I think that we did mostly agree on this, and I honestly like for something like this, it's not only just very logical, but it plays into like a big part of how I live my own life. So I think that's why it was easy for me to agree, because to disagree at this point would have been like, okay, well, how do I be the biggest hypocrite and the biggest fucking cunt around? And it's like, I know how.
I mean, to be fair, I fully agree when you favor play for like characters with mechanics like Mewtwo. That's like, oh look, I press a button. Oh look, that was easy. Damn, I wish every character could play like this. Oh wait, look, Little Mac. Oh, I press a button. Oh, look, that was easy. Oh, yes. Gannondorf. Oh, look, I press a button.
Okay, well, Ganon's a different story, because Ganon is just big hitboxes and he's funny.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to compare Little Mac or Mewtwo, Mac obviously is more because it's like, it's a flex to be able to play Mac well. And it's a matter of being like, am I good enough to play one of the worst characters in the game and still play well? Are my fundamentals that good? So that's a personal challenge. And then as far as Mewtwo goes, like, aside from playing him because I like him, the thing is that down special move, play Mewtwo sometime and see how easy it is to hit that. Play Mewtwo and see how easy it is to get that as consistently as I do.
Hey,
that's a read.
Hey, Kazuya, we've got someone talking smack about how hard it is to hit a particular move. Do you wanna come and get involved in the conversation?
Hey, I already know how hard Kazuya is. I don't need to say that Kazuya isn't a hard character to play. He's got bullshit mechanics, but he's a hard character to play. My point is that if we're going to point out Mewtwo's disable, play that character and see how easy it is to hit that.
All I'm saying is, I don't remember having to do pretzel movements to activate Mewtwo's
you don't need excessively physically technical button inputs for a character to have a hard time pulling off a move. There are plenty of I mean, hell, Warlock Punch is a prime example. Volcano Kick, Ganon's up tilt is a prime example. It's one input, and that is neither of those are easy moves.
This move with a move that's 4 frames. Get out of here.
No. It doesn't matter. It travels incredibly small distance. Incredibly small distance. You have to be close up to your opponent. You have to be facing them, and you have to make sure that you
have to look at them. Oh no.
Yeah, and if you whiff that. If you whiff that, you will Electric Wind God Fist me to death, because Mewtwo will die by sneezing on him.
Oh yes, and who's more likely to whip in this situation? The guy with a 1-button input, or the guy with a instruction manual for the
Technically, it's
maintenance
2
in order
buttons.
to activate.
Technically, it's 2 buttons.
All right. Well, either way, we're going to wrap up here.
You're gonna play Mewtwo.
We're probably going to play Smash after this. So, yeah. Eventual. Oh, actually, just before we finish this episode, just an announcement. If you were on the Pause and Talent server, or you have tried to join that Discord of recently, we just want to let you know that it has been closed for the moment. There will be a time where it will come back. The purpose of that Discord is to promote artists, and at the moment, we have a lot of you that are watching, but we don't have a lot of people that, you know, outside of our the people that we do know that are, you know, trying to promote themselves on the Discord. So we're going to bring it back at a point in time that we feel is that we can work on it. At a point in time where we feel like that will become relevant again. For now, we will have our regular Discord be Shade's public server.
Yes, actually, I, as a lot of you know, we talked about how me and Scott will be doing VTubing soon, and I'm waiting on a few last assets before I start streaming. I was hoping to start this month. It might not be now until early February that I actually start officially streaming. But yeah, well, I have a public server specifically for my VTubing, and yeah, if you would like to, you know, not only have updates kept up on this show here that we do, I always alert people when I've uploaded a new video and give updates on that. If you'd like to give input, if you'd like to support us more and everything, yeah, that would be the place to be. Scott and I will definitely be making more of an effort to pop in there and hang out and chill. So if you would like to talk with us sometime or just hang out or whatever, you know, we're usually just working on artwork together, then yeah, you know, pay attention, look for that link, and come say hi.
And yeah, we'll catch you hopefully soon.
Yeah, Ca-Caw, motherfuckers.